Welcome to Sunday NFL kickoff here at odds.com. Odds headquarters. Got my man John, Ryan, and the Big Ragoo here to break down NFL. Bebsy will not be in action on today's show, but we have his bets here and ready to break everything down. Happy Sunday to all you guys. Big Ragoo, how you doing on this Sunday?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be with you. My friend John also, welcome in. And let's see if we can cap some games and get the board covered up.
Yeah, let's get after it. John, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. I had pretty much a 50-50 day yesterday with the premium picks, but 10-star on Dodgers, offset a 10-star on Georgia, and I admit I had Georgia.
Yeah, me too. I was on Georgia too. I had a couple L's yesterday, more so than the W's, but it goes that way sometimes.
Oh, it does.
I took it right in the drink hole yesterday. I don't want to talk NCAA football. It was extremely bothersome. The UCF breakdown crushed me. Let's focus on NFL big boy football. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. We have a great group ready to go. G-Biz, Buzznuts, Blood Money, Nut Flush, Allen, Mr. Mississippi Razor, Made Money, Nilo, Brian Watson, Johnny K, Damon Santori, KD, and Kyrie the Don. What a great group. Everybody ready to go. Johnny Z in the house. We got Clint Starr, the diehard MMA podcast, Cash Action Bets, Mr. Know-It-All, a.k.a. Leo Leon, ready to go. Good-looking group, and we've got a ton of work to do. Mr. Fun Monk, Mark Rosado, G-Biz, Sonny Griffin, Mob Facts, Ron Lofton, Nick Dillard, Anthony Masternardi. Great to see you, Anthony Masternardi. I know you've been dealing with very tough stuff at home, and just thankful that you can come join your other family right here, your capping family, and roll with us. Great to see you, Anthony Masternardi. Eric Jones, Swervin, and there's Max Smart. Man, I thought we were in good shape at halftime. Oh, man. Okay. For show 94, ready to go. All right, let's go. First off, we'll do a quick review of action. So, John and Ragoo, get what you've already locked in. Let's open the show with what's already locked in. And for me, Panthers at a terrible line, minus 2.5 on Tuesday, down to 1.5 now. I could have got it at 1. Very disappointing. Detroit, Jacksonville under 54.5. That was Tuesday. On Wednesday, I added the Lions -3, Falcons +4, Colts -7.5, and Broncos +10. Bebsy doubled up on the Steelers first half, -2.5, full game -3.5. He's also on the Panthers -2.5, and the Packers -2. Ragoo, what have you already locked in?
I'm on the Chefs at -3, -115. That's what I have so far, and I was looking hard at a couple other ones. Tampa Bay I like a little bit, and then we'll get into those, though. But the only thing I'm locked in right now is the Chiefs, -3.
Chiefs -3 is the only thing locked in. All right, let's get to work. John Ryan, what have you already locked in?
I'll start out with this. The Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles game, I had put out statements on our shows supporting the Eagles. And I've actually changed my mind. And I think that's the beauty of being able to work with data, and things change and you get new news. And the reason is Alshon Jeffrey's not starting. Deshaun Jackson's not starting. Avonte Maddox is not starting. I think Baltimore has a situation too, and matchups that we'll probably talk about later in the show that really give them an edge to win this game comfortably. So I've switched gears on that one. I also like the San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yeah, a lot of people like the 49ers, I think, today too.
Yeah, 49ers are becoming more and more popular. And then we have Bucks Packers is sort of like a public versus the Sharps here. I'm going to pull Ragoo out, see if I can get him clear. We had him glorious yesterday, and he's looking good on the bottom in the studio, but can't get him that clear here. There we go. There's a little clear. Okay, let's get to work right now. We're going to break down these 1 p.m. games. We're going to start Bengals, Colts. Let's attack and see what we are dealing with. Bengals, Colts. I jumped in on the Colts at -7.5 and felt like I was in good shape. I mean, this spread had moved all the way to 9 before the Colts issues with COVID. It moved to where are the 9s? There's 9.5s, 9s, 8s, and now we're back to 7s, and I'm a little uncomfortable. This total at 46.5 opener at Bet365, now 46s across the board. Bengals have allowed 16 sacks in the past 3 weeks, giving up a league high 22 this season. They finally got Geno Atkins back in the lineup, but he only played 19 snaps last week. He's expected to play a little more. The issue is they get Geno Atkins back, but they lose DJ Reader, defensive tackle. They lose defensive end Sam Hubbard, both on injured reserve. And remember, Reader signed for $53 million in a big 4-year free agent deal. They were already missing defensive tackle Mike Daniels and Rennell Wren. The way I see this, I don't know why really money's coming back in on the Bengals dealing with all these issues. Tyler Boyd's become Burrow's main target. AJ Green, 14 receptions, 119 yards, no touchdowns through 5 games. And then on the Colts side of things, Rivers throwing 4 interceptions in the 2 losses. He's throwing 5 this year. He's only been sacked 5 times. But what's happening is teams are just stacking the line of scrimmage, stopping Taylor, forcing Rivers to beat them, and he can't do it. Colts 31st in yards per carry at 3.55. That could change against the Bengals, the defense that allows 102.6. Indy's defense, second in points allowed at 17.6 after allowing a season-high 32 last week. They've allowed only 1 run of 20 or more yards this season, and we know that Mixon's going to get the ball a lot. I thought I was going to beat this line movement. I thought it would get up to 9 and stay there. It's now down to 7 or 7.5. It makes me nervous. Let's start with you, Ragoo. Do you understand why money and market movement's coming back in on the Bengals?
A little bit. The only thing that's worrisome, like you said, the Colts, this whole offensive line was one of the best offensive lines in football last year. This year, I guess whatever's going on with the Colts, and they are 31st in the run. They're averaging like 3.6 yards a carry. That's worrisome for me here. I can understand why, they're kind of one-dimensional, putting it all on Rivers' back, and he hasn't been producing in these spots here, and I think it's too many points. I'm not going to say I'm going to back Cincinnati here. I would more look towards the under, possibly, if anything, because I think they are going to be a one-dimensional team, with the run here, and I think Cincinnati's going to gear up for it. So I'm not going to put so much pressure back on Cincinnati to cover the spread. I'm just going to put it more on Colts to establish a run, and I think that equates to an under, a lean under for me here in this spot.
I almost pulled the trigger on the under. I can understand the look on the under. At this point, we have 61% of the cash and tickets on the over. Also, most of the cash and tickets are on the Colts, and this line is going down to 7. It makes me very uncomfortable. John Ryan, can you understand why money is coming in on the Bengals here?
It's been puzzling to me all week. We mentioned earlier in the first show on last Monday that the line was a head scratcher. I couldn't figure out why it was that high. Of course, the news, and we're all dealing with it, being able to figure out who's going to play this year has become even tougher with the uncertainty surrounding COVID, because within every hour, there could be news that would affect the line or affect the game even taking place. So it's made it much tougher this year to track that. Cincinnati, you mentioned AJ Green with no touchdowns. For those that like to play the DFS, he came up very high on the machine learning models this week. Again, I have to defer to the intelligence of the math, because it really is a head scratcher there too, that why all of a sudden would he have a 2 or 3 touchdown performance? But if you look historically, that's exactly what his individual stats reflect now, especially in his later part of his career. He'll have that 1 or 2 huge games, and this could be one of them. If like Big Ragoo was saying, if I had to bet this game, it definitely would be leaning towards the under. And then if I had to bet the side, I would grab the points. The Colts just don't impress me as much as the media led us on to believe in the preseason. They were supposed to have this really incredible defense. There's been times in games where they've gotten gashed. They lack the gap discipline, consistency of that. And Cincinnati has a pretty darn good young quarterback in rookie Burrows too, right? And I wouldn't want to lose this game taking the favorite.
Yeah, I've become uncomfortable with where I stand here on the Colts, and the under is appealing. It is appealing, man. I wish this was sold out in Indianapolis so Burrow wouldn't be able to call audibles. The under is appealing. Under 46, something I will think about moving forward. No official plays from John or Ragoo on game one. And Reviews Bompolo's already locked it in. And Somaliland Prince says Bengals quarterback stinks. Are you kidding me?
I didn't say that. I didn't say he stinks.
I like it, Somaliland Prince. All right, let's roll up to Falcons Vikings. This was a move I did make. I did pull the trigger on Ryan Ward saying Colts by 10. G Biz saying over Jim. I haven't pulled the trigger on the under at this point. Falcons Vikings. I liked the idea that I had on Tuesday, and it hasn't changed. I picked up the Falcons at +4. Let me just see if there was any juice attached to that. No, on Wednesday, +4 at -110. That's not available. Actually, that is available in a couple books. That is available, mostly 3.5s there. This total opened up at 57 and has dropped all the way down to 53 or 52. There is Birdie in the house. Birdie's birthday tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. I know there's going to be a lot of festivities for you this evening. Enjoy it, my friend. We love capping with you. Clint started the Die Hard MMA podcast, says Vikings all day. G-Biz saying Vikings, Vikings, Vikings. Just before I go to my notes, the simple angle I had was that I want to see Madison do what he did again. I want to see it. Now there's going to be Raheem Norris preparing for Madison, and it's easy. It's easier when you have to fill in for a superstar, and it's just, oh God, I got to fill in right now. I got to get on the field. Got to get my helmet on right now. It's harder when you have a week to think about it. This young Vikings defense does not look good this year. 7 of the 16 Vikings who were in on more than one play in that loss at Seattle were picked in one of the past 3 drafts. So it's very young. They have rookie cornerbacks Cameron Dantzler and Jeff Gladney, and they've been picked on at times. And there's no Dalvin Cook. Wide receiver KJ Osborne, cornerback Chris Boyd, guard Drew Samia are all out, and cornerback Colton Hill is questionable. And then for the Falcons, I think they can continue a positive vibe after the firing of Dan Quinn and the general manager. They don't have Jalen Hawkins and Tack McKinley, but other than that, they're a healthy group, and I expect Julio Jones to be fresh and ready to go. Todd Gurley coming off a great game, and I expect this Falcons team to be in this game. I'm on the Falcons +4. Let's start with John Ryan this time. John Ryan, any move for you in Falcons Vikings?
Well, I agree with you on this play. And we talked about this one too earlier in the week with the Falcons being winless, and I think they do get their first win today. It's amazing to me, since the January 2017 Super Bowl collapse to the New England Patriots, that Atlanta seemingly blows a lot of leads now. In fact, they've played 53 games since that Super Bowl, and they've blown 35 leads of those games, which leads the NFL by a ton. Just this year, we saw them collapse against the Cowboys, who, even with Dak Prescott in the offense, they're putting up some gaudy stats, but the whole team as a whole evaluation was not nearly as good as I thought. I think Dallas with Prescott is an average team because the defense is struggling so poorly. So those are even worse losses than when you're up 24 and you lose. So I think eventually that has to change. These are professional athletes that are mentally tough. So I think this situation here, on paper, you could say the Vikings have the talent edge, but I think the Falcons here will just want to win a game, and Minnesota's already 1-4 for the season. So both the seasons are pretty much over for playoff aspirations, and Atlanta's been used to have more so because they're winless than the Vikings. So I give that edge to them. I also have a pretty good system on this game too. You're playing on road underdogs of 3.5 to 9.5 points. That is a horrible team getting outscored by opponents by 7 or more points per game. And after scoring 7 or fewer points in the first half of each of their last 2 games. So for me, this system has a lot of meaning because I look at the Falcons as a pretty above average offense, not an elite offense, but they can score points in bunches. And the fact that they've gone 2 games scoring just 7 in the first half, it's revert back to the mean. You're going to hear me say that more times than you probably want me to say it, but it's revert back to the mean in terms of performance. So they've been playing badly in the first half versus their average measures. And this is a game going against a weak team that they can put up 21 in the first half. So I like the Falcons quite a bit.
I like them too. Are you going to pull the trigger? I've pulled it at +4. Are you going to pull the trigger here, John?
Oh, yes.
All righty. We have an official play for John Ryan with me on the Falcons. Big Ragoo, take over. What are your thoughts here?
So if you listen to John's breakdowns on the Falcons, you almost have to run to the window about the first half.
Good idea.
Just based on theory. But sometimes, it is the NFL. And I can't remember a season where I've seen so much disparities on teams that are undefeated or have not come up with a win yet or have 1 win, and teams that are 4-0, 4-1, teams that are probably not deserving of those numbers. But anyways, it is the NFL. If they had Cook in there, I would definitely be all over the Vikings in this spot, but it's not so much here. I think points are going to come on both sides of the ball. Given the way that John's breaking the game down and the way I see it, I just think both defenses have yielding effects on both offenses, and I like to push this game over the total. And I would probably lean Atlanta's way, but more so over the total, and I'll probably get to the window with that play.
Yeah, I agree. I like that play too.
Over the total, and it's dropped fast. Yeah. We're down to 52 right now. Interesting thoughts here about that first half. Dylan Turner says team total is over 12 first half. I have a team total at 10.5 for the Falcons, and that's juiced to the under. Juiced to
that might be a solid play right there.
Yeah, that's a good finder, Jimmy.
Total.
It was brought up here in the chat by Dylan Turner. My man Turnsey coming to us from Windsor, Ontario says, I think Falcons first half team total is a better bet in my opinion. They will come out hard. Just not sure if they could pull off full game. Ron Lofton says over does seem like the play. Okay, I don't want to sit here and hum and haw, so I'm just the possible additions I'm just going to write here and then decide what to do. So anything official for you, Ragoo?
I'm probably going to get on that team total Atlanta, that first half total.
First half team total over 10.5, and it's again juiced to the under at this point. Ragoo thinking about it, and so am I. Good call from our man Turnsey in the house. Okay, let's keep rolling. We got a lot of games to get through, and we are making good time here. Mr. Fun Monk says, Dennis Garcia says, my lean is Atlanta. Says Atlanta defense is much healthier than it was two weeks ago. And Mr. Fun Monk says, I'm not really convinced that Dan Quinn was the main problem, yet he became the fall guy. He doesn't cause the team to collapse like the Falcons have been known to do. That's more on the players. But if it just keeps happening, get the asshole who's staring you in the face after each loss out of the building. All right, let's move to Broncos, Patriots, 59 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour. This was a spot I feel good about. I feel good about getting in on the Broncos early. And has this been – let me see this. Has this been taken off the board? Sorry, let me just move over here. No, wow, down to 7.5.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right, so beat this market move by 2.5 points at my book. Let's see. After the matchup twice postponed because of these mini outbreaks of COVID, Newton and Stephon Gilmore are expected to play. That's what I've heard. Now, Melvin Gordon, as you guys know, has this huge game and then the DUI. and now he's supposedly out with strep throat. Take that for what it is. Tight end Noah Fant downgraded to out. Jeremiah Atauchu, their linebacker, ruled out. Wide receiver KJ Hamler ruled out. And Drew Lock is going to be back in business. Denver hasn't won in New England since 2006, so Drew Lock's going to be back. And then Julian Edelman has got a knee injury. He's listed as questionable. Again, we have had David Andrews, their center, on the injured reserve. Shaq Mason has a calf injury. Isaiah Wynn, also a calf injury. So this offensive line continues to move and change. Offensive tackle Isaiah Wynn and defensive tackle Adam Butler are listed as questionable. I'm happy with my Broncos at +10. Let's go to Big Ragoo here. What do you think of this spot, Denver, New England?
Yeah, this game has a ton of question marks for me. Either way, I mean, if I was to play this game, which I'm not on it, but if I was to play, I would be your way on the Broncos for sure, no doubt. I mean, with the practice setup for New England, under normal circumstances, I would probably be on New England, but we're not in normal circumstances. There's a lot of issues, a lot of question marks here. I think the numbers are still a little stretched at the 7.5. You definitely got the best of the numbers, so congrats on that. But, a week ago, we were looking at Ripien and Stedham. Now we're looking at, Locke and Newton. So that might have some effect on the game. But even so, I still think the points are too many for New England to give up in this spot. And I know that Fangio, I know Belichick has a ton of respect for Fangio, and I think that's going to factor in this game. I think I think they're an underrated team, Denver, especially in this spot.
Yeah, the chat not really agreeing on our spot here, but I feel like this is a good spot for us. So the Czar saying Pats have issues with COVID-19, 3 offensive linemen out for Pats. Dennis Garcia says, I wish I took Denver early, took the under 45 instead. Ron Lofton has the 12.5 first half for Atlanta. I got the 10.5. But Bet365 switches these 10.5s and 12.5s quite quickly. By the way, the Vikings team total first half's 13.5, heavily juiced to the over, -150 to the over. John Ryan, what do you think of this spot, Broncos, Patriots?
I like the Broncos, and that is an official play. I am relying totally on the math on this one. As you mentioned, the uncertainty in this game all week long. You didn't know whether Cam Newton was starting. You didn't know the situation of at least a dozen players. So how in the world can you handicap it? But in this situation, as Big Ragoo perfectly said, the Denver Broncos may be 1-4, but they're not a 1-4 team, in my opinion. They come across in many of the metrics that I have, which I'm sure people would be willing to say I'm dead wrong, and the Denver Broncos are not the best defense in the NFL, but that's what my math says right now. They're extraordinarily good against their run defense is very good. They've given up more yards than other teams, but in terms of play-by-play, drive-by-drive results, which is what my models look at the drives, they're playing at a fantastic level. So how do you beat the Patriots without a Tom Brady? It seems pretty obvious that the Patriots are a run-first team. So if you have a defensive front like the Denver Broncos have and shut down that run, or at least contain it, then you force Newton to use play action and try to beat you that way, which he's fully capable of doing. We've all seen him play it. But the weapons on the Patriots right now are a skeleton crew, in my opinion. Brady went several years with essentially Edelman and some guys that we never heard of that ended up playing extraordinarily well in that program. But at the end of the day, getting these points, and especially the level you got, Jimmy, is an outstanding opportunity. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Denver Broncos win. That's how I feel about the game.
I like it. What did you lock in the Broncos at, John?
I wasn't as lucky as you, Jimmy. I'm going to be doing it right when I walk up to the window. All
right. So right now, depending on where you shop, 7.5s and 8s available. Desar says this game is an underplay, not enough weapons. Broncos, Patriots. Okay, let's keep rolling right now. And Paco Healy made the point of Lindsey being back, which is huge. turf toe injury in the opener. So Lindsey will be taking over from Melvin Gordon. All right, let's move on to Washington Football Club at the Giants. 61 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. This total opened up at 44.5, the wind 8 miles per hour, 44.5, now at 42.5. Giants opened up as 3.5-point favorites. There are ones on the board now. Money coming in on Washington. Washington's defense has allowed 30 or more points in all 4 losses. Kyle Allen started against the Rams, 9 of 13 for 74 yards, ran for that touchdown, got hurt on that touchdown run. He's expected to start. Rams had 8 sacks against Washington last week. J.D. McIsaac has at least 6 catches. They're running back in his last 2 games. Antonio Gibson could not move the ball at all on the ground, 11 times for just 27 yards. Chase Young was back in business. He'll be in the lineup again today. New York scored a season-high 34 points in Dallas. Slayton was a giant. Season highs, 8 receptions, 129 yards. And they've lost O'Shane Ximines with a shoulder on the IR and Lorenzo Carter, to an Achilles tendon injury. Both guys done, and those were their starting outside linebackers. So that poses a problem. I can understand why money's coming in on Washington. Blackdoor King says, easy bet Washington. Well, let's see what John Ryan has to say about this spot. Washington Football Club, New York Giants.
Well, I'll tell you, looking at this matchup, I wish I didn't have to make any comment whatsoever. Move on to the next game because it's 2 teams from the NFC East, and I'm looking at my charts now and the grids, and it's horrifying. You have a team like Washington favored on the road that is ranked dead last in the NFL, and that means they're worse than the Jets in yards per play at 4.2. So they're worse in the league, offensive efficiency, and they're favored. I can't get my hands around that simple fact. Then you look at the Giants, they're 31st in scoring, 16.2 per game. Points per play, they're dead last at 0.267. Third down conversions, they've converted 20. They rank 22nd, so when they do get the third down, that's somewhat encouraging. Dead last TDs per game, 1.2. Redskins 28th, averaging 2.2 TDs. So there you have 28th with 2.2 TDs, which is terrible. But the Giants make it even worse at 1.2. So that there is why I think the Washington football team is favored here just by a little bit. I don't know what other my lean would be to the under. A lot of times I would be contrarian in a situation like this, and that you have 2 struggling offenses that you would automatically take the over because everybody else is taking the under. That's like an inherent reaction to it. But they're both so bad on both sides of the ball that I really can't give out a good play for the listeners at all, or for my bank account.
Understandably so. And the more we talk about it now, it does seem like Washington would have been the look, but you could have got +3 36 hours ago. So I'm not going to sit here with anything lower than that because if I'm late to the party, then look, I just won't show up. Let's see what Ragoo has to say. Washington Giants. What do you think here?
I'm not going to say I have the same sentiments as John, but I have a lot of the same views. It's hard to come up with an angle you can argue both ways on both sides of the ball for why not to bet both of these teams. But if you have to pick a team, for handicapping sake, you have to come up with some kind of angle to pick a team. And I would have to give the lean towards the Washington defense, even though both teams are like negative 50+ points on a point differential scale, which is kind of ugly. And they're both sitting at the bottom of the barrel with the Giants with 0 wins and Washington with 1 win. But I don't know. It's hard to make an argument for either side here. I just think Washington maybe has a better defense, possibly, if that's even possible. But the Giants, and then what kind of an upgrade are you really getting with Washington with Kyle Allen at quarterback, over Haskins? And then last week I was cringing when Alex Smith came in. I was like, man, I was glad to see him on the field. Don't get me wrong, that's a miraculous comeback in itself. But I don't see any value I know some of my friends are in Washington. They're already bet it, but I'm not going to make Washington the favorite here. Whatever the value was maybe an hour ago in the number at 3, I wasn't even excited about the 3 back then, but definitely not excited about putting money on Washington at 1. And I'm definitely not going to play the Giants either. So I'm not giving you a lot of good answers here, but I can't find any value in either one of these teams. Just let the shit show develop.
That works. Let's move on. Let's move on to Ravens, Eagles here. And John Ryan alluded to this game off the top. So we'll let them start off. Baltimore opening up at -7. And there was a common feeling amongst some pretty sharp cappers I roll with that if it got to 9.5 or 10, the Eagles would be the play. And listening to John, that sentiment is gone. And I didn't know that, John. John wasn't on our opening line show, so I didn't know that John agreed with that sentiment earlier in the week that Philadelphia would have been the play. But Ravens opened up at -7. The leading indicator books have moved it to 10.5. This total opened up at 47.5 and is now 46.5. Another feeling I had was if there was some healthy wide receivers, I thought, maybe this would be a sneaky over. I don't know now. Wentz is throwing a league-high 9 picks. Zach Ertz, 5 catches on 11 targets in the last 2 games. Fulgham has been the man, 10 receptions for 152 yards. Against the Steelers, they looked very good offensively. At one point, they converted 10 straight third downs. It was their defense that just couldn't get stops at all. They forced one punt after the first quarter. Safety Marcus Epps, linebacker Duke Riley, cornerback Avonte Maddox, offensive tackle Lane Johnson, and wide receivers Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson are all out, all the way to out. And then Darius Slay, questionable with a concussion. On the Ravens side of things, guard Tyree Phillips, cornerback Jimmy Smith, cornerback Marcus Peters, wide receivers Chris Moore and Miles Boykin are questionable. So you'd have to get the latest updates to find out whether they're in the lineup. They're coming off that dominant 27-3 win at home over the Bengals at 61 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. It was their 18th straight game with a turnover. They sacked Joe Burrow 7 times. They've won 8 straight road games. Lamar Jackson in those 8 straight road games thrown 18 TD passes and 5 picks. They've allowed an NFL low 15.2 points per game. 11 Ravens have sacks. 7 different Ravens had 1 apiece last week. And defensive end Derek Wolfe is expected to be out of the lineup. Ravens, Eagles, John, you alluded to it off the top. Why don't you continue with it?
Yeah, I guess I focused on Wentz week to week, and I don't like any media attacking one player or a coach and blaming everything on them, which is what is occurring in Philadelphia. And, it happened with the 76ers with Brett Brown as the head coach. He was the scapegoat for every single shot that Ben Simmons ever missed in his life. And it does get a little extreme in the city of brotherly love. But Wentz, more and more each week, I can't find reason to support him. He's making bad decisions. People saying he's getting not enough time to throw it. Well, I have data that says the other way around, that the offensive line is actually doing better than what the local and national medias would tell you. It still doesn't explain why he leads the NFL with 39 bad throws. And bad throws, by definition, are exactly that. Uncatchable balls that, had they been on target, would have been caught by an NFL caliber wide receiver. And that's last by a lot. He ranks 5th worst with 21% on passes. How do I say this? 1 out of every 5 passes he throws is a bad pass, regardless of the distance. In metrics, they call it deep passing, or I like to call it passes longer than 20 yards, near the bottom of the barrel with that metric too. Now there you can give them the excuse that Alshon Jeffrey's out, Deshaun Jackson's out. The rookie they drafted that I think is going to be just an absolute stud, Jalen Reagor, is out. So he doesn't have his 3 starting wide receivers. However, if you're the franchise quarterback, and we've seen Brady do it, we've seen Brady do it this year, we've seen Aaron Rodgers do it, and the list goes on, Drew Brees, they have their wide receivers out, but they still manage to execute at a high level. So there's something wrong in Philly, and I can't get my hands around it completely. But it's not a situation where I can back them. There's a reason why they're a 10-point home dog against the Ravens. And I'll add this too with Lamar Jackson. You'd be surprised where he ranks as a quarterback. It's not near the top. And some of them, he's actually only a couple of players higher than Carson Wentz. So it's not necessarily that passing game. As we know, last year they broke all kinds of records, including his individual records for ground rushing yards. But when you have a team like Baltimore, who I don't think is one of the contenders for the AFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl, favored by double digits, I think that's telling you that the right side is Baltimore. And I do have a betting system here at 64-32 for 68% winning bets over the last 10 seasons. Not one season of this system has had a loss. So you're going to bet on road favorites that are a dominant opponent. That outscores their opponent by more than 10 points or more per game and is coming off a win of 10 or more points. So Baltimore it matches all those requirements, and that betting system supports the Ravens. One last thing, I'll mention the machine learning stuff. It seems like the listeners and the readers are starting to like that stuff quite a bit, so I try to keep it simple. So the Ravens are projected to gain a minimum of 150 rushing yards and have fewer turnovers than the Eagles. So in past road games in which the Ravens were favorites and met or exceeded these performance measures, they're 14-0 straight up. And more importantly, they're 12-2 against the spread for 86% winning bets that covered by an average of 15 points. You know, when I get that kind of stuff, that's the end of the story. For me, it's the Ravens.
Have you already moved on the Ravens, or is that a move that you will be making at this market?
That was a game that, without COVID and without all the uncertainties of who was actually going to be playing in this game, especially on the Eagles side, I would have done it early. But when you don't know if the Alshon Jeffries of the Eagles roster are going to be playing, it makes it harder. Even for an older guy like me, it's been doing this for 26 years, to go to the window and take a shot. I'm very hesitant because if they play, then the line is obviously going to move against you. So I've been waiting a lot longer this year than any other season I can remember.
Understandably so. Big Ragoo, Ravens, Eagles. Do you support this double-digit road favorite?
No, and I'm not going to be on the Philly either, but single digits, even though all the numbers do point, they do point the Ravens' way in an extreme way. I'm just not comfortable for some reason taking the Ravens on the road laying double digits. Now, if they were at home, I'd be on this game all day long, probably be like 12 to 14 points, but I wouldn't probably lay the 14 either, but I would be comfortable laying, the field goal and the touchdown at home, but on the road, not so much. Not for any particular reasons that John were talking about, but even John, you could tell John is a little hesitant too at the end, even though he broke it down perfectly each and every way to favor the Ravens and the money's coming in favor. I just think the value is gone in the number. I'm just afraid of, getting past that 10, that key number of 10 on the road with the Ravens. I don't think, they could win, 42-10 if all the reasons being, but I'm just not comfortable in that spot. So it's a no play for me. I'm passing.
A pass there. 79% of the cash, 89% of the tickets on the over. And then we have a stat from Birdie. And let me pull it up here. Double-digit home dogs, under hits in those games, 3-25 to the under. 25.
Let me ask John a question, Jim. John, if other than full game Ravens, what would be like your second look? If you were to look at it, like getting down on action on the Ravens side, do you have any angles there?
I actually would bet under the team total of the Eagles.
Okay.
For the simple, that goes with the theme that the Eagles are going to struggle again, and the Ravens could win this game 24-3. So I didn't see what the Philadelphia Eagle total was for either the first half or the full game, but
16.5 full game, and it's heavily juiced to the over. It's minus 150 to the over. Under one.
I like the under then.
Interesting.
Contrarian that I am, when I hear minus 150, that's kind of insane. And it's only, what did you say the number was? 16.5?
Yeah.
Wow.
16.5. The first half team total for the Eagles is 7.5. That's juiced to the under.
Yeah, that's because.
Well, that definitely reflects what I was talking about with the struggles on the Philly offense and
plays into the strength of the Ravens.
The Eagles have a really good defensive line because the linebacker core is suffering from injuries too. The one thing that Lamar Jackson is good at doing is find that extra little bit of time with his legs and then throwing down the seams to tight ends. The Eagles defense has struggled mightily against tight ends this year, by the way. So look for that, those little 10-yard tosses to a wide open tight end right along the seams. I know you're going to see that play.
Interesting spot. We have the marquee 1 p.m. game coming up now. Browns, Steelers, 61 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 10 miles per hour is the wind. And the first thing you got to do when you talk about the Browns is go right to their injury report, and it's pretty ugly. So you have, just in regards to the questionable players. So the guys who are out isn't that bad. You got linebacker Jacob Phillips, guard Wyatt Teller, safety Ronnie Harrison, and safety Carl Joseph. They're out. But the questionables are big. Now, we can let go of Beckham and Landry. They're questionable. Beckham with the illness, Landry with the hip and rib, but they're going to play. You have Baker Mayfield with the ribs. He's going to play. But that's a dangerous injury, especially in a divisional battle against the Steelers where, they're going to target it. Then you have Olivier Vernon, their defensive end. He's questionable with a groin injury. You have Ogunjobi, their defensive tackle, and he's questionable with an abdomen injury. So it's a big injury report. Myles Garrett leading the NFL with 6 sacks. He's going to be a danger. And the offensive line is being protecting Mayfield. So this is the key part in the game. You have Pittsburgh that's tied for the league in sacks with 20, and then you have Mayfield and the Browns. Mayfield's only been sacked 7 times, and the 22 pressures allowed are a league low. Pittsburgh's off to his best start in 41 years, and the teams that they've beaten have a combined record of 3-15-1. Bebsy doubled up on the Steelers first half, full game, and I couldn't join him, and I almost did early in that discussion on Tuesday on the full game, but I can't. I don't care. Roethlisberger, 23-2-1 all time against the Steelers. He's never lost, against the Browns, He's never lost to the Browns at Heinz Field. That's great, but this is a different Browns squad. I'm not saying I'm going to back the Browns and get in the way of that, but Bebsy see this as a slam dunk for Pittsburgh. He got the full game at 3.5. It's now widely available at 3. He got the first half at 2.5. Let's see what it is right now. It's going to pop up here what the 2.5 is. While I'm looking this up, I don't know why it's taking so long. While I'm looking this up, let's start with Big Ragoo here. Battle of the North Division here. Steelers, Browns. What's your move? Rust
Belt game, right? Anyways, this has all the makings of a classic matchup. Between the Browns and the Steelers here. I'm with Bebsy. I like the Steelers in this spot, not just because of the fact that the question marks are the injuries. I just think going back, like you said, in this series, Roethlisberger's had some success here, and even though he's not throwing a lot of the balls downfield, he's more of a dink and dunk style quarterback, a lot of quick releases. I think that's going to pose some issues for Cleveland on the defensive side. Even though Cleveland has been eating, putting average of 30 points a game like the last 4 games, they have been scoring points. here, but I was just thinking we're going to have a Baker moment in this particular game, and I think Pittsburgh's going to come out victorious. Even though a lot of the analysts are putting this at a 3-point number, I think Pittsburgh's a touchdown better here in this game. So I'm going to take Big Ben at home with Pittsburgh to get the job done. Both teams, and I think the red zone defense favors Pittsburgh in this spot, so that might keep a few extra, plays, points off the board on the Cleveland side. So I like Pittsburgh here to win by a touchdown.
Pittsburgh to win by a touchdown, says Ragoo. John, what side are you on here?
Well, I'm on the Steelers side. Initially, in the beginning of the week, to be honest, I was thinking like this is the game that will be, pivotal for for Baker's career and the Cleveland Browns. Playing their arch rival in the AFC North, being a road underdog, winning in Pittsburgh, all that good stuff. But I talked to a good friend of mine that said that his understanding is that Baker Mayfield is not injured with the ribs and it's his shoulder. And if you look at the last play where he got hurt, he's coming off the field with the shoulder just like this, and he wasn't walking like it was dinged up ribs. Now this could be all wrong. It's obviously speculation, but if his shoulder is injured, then he's not going to have much zip on the ball. And if that's the case, then it's even more of a reason to take Pittsburgh. So I think this is where I think you could benefit from using the live in-game bet. So if you like Pittsburgh, maybe put down 50% of your normal bet on the Steelers, and then see how it goes with Cleveland's offense. And if it is very obvious that he's struggling to get any type of zip and speed on his throws, then you can start adding in the other 50% using the live line. I never in a million years like to take advantage of somebody that is injured. I want to make that perfectly clear. But in this situation, I think they're hiding something with his arm. I really do, and that's going to make a big difference in the outcome. There's also been a media theme all week about are the Steelers as good as their record? And you can say the same thing about the Rams, the Seahawks, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I think Pittsburgh is as good as their record, and Ben Roethlisberger's numbers they rank among the best of his career, and certainly the best among the last 7 seasons. So Roethlisberger is playing at a very high level. He's matured immensely, obviously. He's getting pretty old. He's not forcing anything downfield. He's taking what the defense is giving him, and they're executing as a result at a very high level. And the Browns' defense, as Big Ragoo mentioned, is going to be highly suspect to that type of offensive attack. So regardless of Baker's status and health, Pittsburgh is the better team here, and they have the better defense, and that would be my play.
Well, very, very, very interesting. Dennis Garcia in the chat jumped in on the Browns at +3.5. He thinks that's where the line should be. We have a market that's pro Steelers, 66% of cash, 67% of tickets. Also to the over. Cash action bets is here on the under. Do either of you guys have a lean on the total?
I'd be leery. I'd be leery with John's information on Baker's shoulder. I'd have to see how that plays out. But initially, I would probably say to the over. Believe it or not, I would lean towards because Pittsburgh has had success putting some points up, and so hasn't Cleveland. Cleveland's been averaging 30 points a game. But I have to go back and break down the actual opponents on those in the scoring situations.
Pittsburgh just couldn't stop the Eagles last week. It was very strange. They still covered the 7 full game. John, you have any lean on the total here, Browns Steelers?
Unfortunately, I don't. This, in my opinion, is just too many uncertainties. As Big Ragoo said, Cleveland gives up a ton of points, and Roethlisberger is playing at a high level, so that alone makes it a high-scoring game. But if Cleveland struggles here and has the Mayfield moment, as Big Ragoo said, then it's going to play under. So I I pass on this game.
I'm excited to watch it, and I have no move on this game. Again, Bebsy, who is sitting 22-7 on the year, has 3 games, and one is a double up. Steelers first half, Steelers full game. And then he's on the Panthers -2.5, and so am I. And this is an embarrassing spot on my card because when I went to bet the 2.5, so it was just 45 minutes after the Tuesday show was over, and money was coming in, and it had moved to the 3. So I panicked and bet the 2.5 at -125. I just hate myself for it. Now I could be, if I had just had some patience. It just seems when I have patience, it's when I should be attacking, and when I am attacking, it's when I should be just having patience here. Now there's 2s back on the board, makes me feel a little better. But it had gone down to -1. They were mostly 1.5s. The leading indicator books have moved it to 2. And I'm on the Panthers with Bebsy here. The Bears have extra time to prepare. They lost their left guard, James Daniel, to a season-ending pectoral tear in the win over the Buccaneers. Montgomery coming off 7 receptions for 59 yards. He's having trouble moving the ball on the ground, but he is catching the ball. And Foles, 243 yards. This isn't a fade of the Bears as much as I'm buying in on the Panthers at home here. 64 Fahrenheit, sunny, no wind to worry about. Panthers have now won 3 straight. Bridgewater, 75 of 102 passes, 73.5%, 824 yards, 5 TDs, 1 pick in the 3-game winning streak. Carolina's offensive line has not allowed a sack in its last 2 games, so they're protecting them. Mike Davis has stepped up in a huge way, replacing McCaffrey, and they're dealing with injuries. So Kwan Short, done for the year. That sucks. And Brian Burns is in concussion protocol. I don't know if Brian Burns is in the lineup, and they need him. But this is a team moving in the right direction. They've allowed 57 points in their last 3 games, and I'm going to take them to win at home. I just wish I had waited. Let's go to John Ryan here. Bears, Panthers. You making a move?
I actually like the Bears in this situation, but believe me, I get everything that you've shared with me here. The Bears are 4-1 and probably a surprise given the expectations before the season. I think too the under here is a good play. As soon as you said that the weather, there's no wind, etc., good favorable scoring conditions, we immediately think over. By the way, the average total this year for the NFL games is 51 points. And it wasn't too long ago that if you got a game at 53, it was, oh, wow, man, that's like way up there. So, in this game, I do think the Bears take care of business and they get another win that's not really expected to be a win by the consensus. So let me get a little system here for us. So in this game, the Bears are very good when they score 22 to 28 points. So this is coming from the machine learning tool. So there's a very high probability that they're going to score in that range. And when they do, they are 32-11 straight up in road games, and also 35-6-2 against the number, excuse me, for 85% winning bets. And they've covered by an average of 10 points a game. So if you take it one step further and they hold their opponent to less than 230 passing yards, which is what is projected here. In other words, Carolina will struggle on offense from the passing game. And if the Bears have fewer turnovers, the results are similar. It's 33-8-2 against the spread, and that comes out to 81% winners. So in terms of this game and betting on the Bears, what I will do is I will bet the Bears, and then I'll watch the game and see if that 230 passing yards is exceeded by Carolina. And if it is, then that is one nail in the coffin, so to speak, that the Bears are not the right side. But that's my take on it. They'll take care of the ball. They won't have turnovers. Carolina will have more turnovers, and they'll struggle with the passing game. Not that 230 yards is really struggling, but it's below average.
Wow, interesting breakdown, John. Let's hear what Ragoo has to say. Bears, Panthers.
I'm not going to call these teams both a mirror team of one another, but their style of play, I think Carolina may be a little bit more offensively apt in this battle at home. Getting the points, like you said. 2.5. Where are you at? 2.5 now? 1.5, 2 points.
1.5. There are two on the board, and they're jumping up quickly.
My first initial thought on this game was under. That was, and Denny Garcia had a good point. Both of these teams, they do seem to struggle scoring touchdowns in the red zone, but probably are the Bears probably the worst 4-1 team in the league, if you want to call it that. They do have 4 wins, and I think their margins, both sides of these clubs here, are like a 1 point on average margin of victory on the point differential. So the line is what it is for the reason. I would still lean more towards the under because of the red zone efficiencies. Third down efficiencies is pretty much the same on. They're both pretty average on third down. Third down efficiency. So I think points are going to come at a premium in this spot. So I'm gonna be on the under in this game. That's going to be an official play for me.
Wow, I think that under makes sense. And you have the public on the over here, 68% of the cash, 75% of the tickets. And it's only moved up.
I know it's ticked up. Yeah, it's ticked up a little bit.
Just a bit, though. A bit,
much.
Or 1.5, but full point at most books, from 44 to 45. John, what do you think of backing the under in this spot?
Well, I'm glad you asked me. I've actually pulled up a system that supports the under, 75% winners, and pretty simple, too. This is one of those that has gone 10 years without a losing season. So you're going to play under with a home team that's off a win against a divisional rival that has a win percentage between 50%, in other words, 500, up to 62.5% on the season. And that's all there is to it. So you're going to bet under with a home team against a divisional rival and off. I'm sorry, let me say it again. Play under with home teams against the total off of a win against a division rival who has a winning record on the year that does not exceed 62.5, which is 5/8 of their games. That's why 62.5 comes up. So that's pretty good. It was 9-2 over the last 3 seasons, 20-6 the last 5, and it's gone under by an average of 43% of all those games, and that includes the games that you lost playing the bet. So this ought to be a pretty low-scoring game, based on that alone.
Yeah, I like it. Ragoo on the under, and I think I'm going to come in on it as well. I'm still going to hum and haw over it a little bit before I make the move. All right, let's go and move on. We have a couple more spots. This is a double up for me. Double up game. Side and total for me. That's Lions, Jags. Now, I got the under at 54.5. It's all the way down to 52.5 at some books. It's 53 or 53 now. So it's not like I smashed this market move, but these are the league's 2 worst defenses. And I'm not going to sit here really confident on the under 54.5, but I am going to be confident on the Lions coming off their bye week. I think this is a nice spot for them. They're the first team in NFL history to lose 6 straight games in which they led by double digits. I mean, that's just ludicrous. But they have some good stats going for them. They've scored on their opening drive every game this year. They're giving up 170 yards rushing, 5.2 yards per carry, and that's not going to happen against the Jags. The Jags are having difficulty moving the ball on the ground. The Jags have lost 4 straight. They've allowed 30 or more points in each of them. This 3rd streak in franchise history. They're hoping to get defensive end Josh Allen linebacker Miles Jack and cornerback C.J. Henderson all back after missing last week's game. They're questionable. They also have Shark questionable, and defensive tackle Aubrey Jones and tight end Tyler Eifert questionable. But I like the Lions here. And I know it's a hard thing to say out loud, but I like the Lions. I'm backing them. I got them at -3 on Wednesday. I got the under 54.5. Let's go to Big Ragoo. What do you think here? Lions, Jaguars.
Hey, if there's a team to get a team right on offense, it would be playing against Jacksonville for sure, because I think they've put some wins in some people's columns, coming that we're looking for their first win. So the Lions, they might be a team on the hunt there to get another W. But yeah, I would lean Lions with you, Jimmy, in this spot here for sure. A lot of question marks on Jacksonville, with the opportunity for them to put points on the board, and their defense is struggling mightily. So yeah, I would definitely favor the Lions. I'm not touching the game. I'm off either way, and then maybe. If there's a spot to get on the Lions, this would be it. So it's a no play for me, but definitely I would support your theory and that spot for sure. What's the current number on the game?
The current number on the game is -3 at -110, and I'd have to say, as much as I think this will end up being my best bet, which is a crazy thing to say for the Lions on the road. But I think this will be my best bet on today's card once we get down to it. We got Jay Money in the house talking Texans. This was what I was referring to when I should have attacked when I was patient. I could have got +4 on the Texans last night. I could have got +4 at -120 before the show started. Those are all gone. But we're going to talk Texans-Titans next game. Let's finish off the breakdown here of Lions-Jaguars. John Ryan, take it away, my man.
Well, there's a system I think I have pulled up here that kind of sums up exactly what you guys were talking about. A pretty good offense with Stafford. I would be willing to bet that Stafford is a very popular choice in the daily fantasy pools right now. And what we're going to do here is take a system that's gone 82% winners over the last 5 seasons. And you're going to take any road team. Of course, this is Detroit. That's a good above average offensive team, gaining 5.5 to 5.9 yards per play, and is facing a horrid defense, allowing 6 yards per play. And after being outgained by the opponent by at least 100 yards in each of their last 2 games. So that makes a lot of sense to me with the play on Detroit. I'm a pass on this game. But this system here clearly supports what you guys are thinking, and I like the idea.
Perfect. I like it. I feel good about it. Let's move on to our final 1 p.m. game and then move into the afternoon games. The next spot, and we are an hour from kickoff, Texans-Titans. And Betsy messaged me last night because he wasn't available for the show, and he was very close to moving on the Titans, and he knew that I was very close to moving on the Texans. It was going to be our first spot where we were heads up against each other, and he has not pulled the trigger on the Titans yet. 65 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 10 miles per hour in Nashville. Texans coming off their first win of the season, 30-14 over the Jags. Crennel changing the environment from O'Brien. Watson throws for 359 yards. Cooks catches for 161. David Johnson rushes for 96 yards. They shut down the run game, which is what I think the Lions are going to be able to do to the Jags. They finally stopped the run game, and that was part of J.J. Watt's anger throughout the early season, was that they were incapable of stopping the run, especially in the second half when they needed to. And obviously this is going to be a much tougher test. Last time Derrick Henry faced off against these Texans, Derrick Henry destroyed them. He destroyed them for, 300 – 300 what I'm saying. I don't have it here. But I thought I had it here. But he absolutely – he mauled them. So, here it is, 211 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it's going to be tougher. But I see the Titans team that's allowing more yards than they're gaining, even though they're 3-0. I see them as vulnerable and on a short week. And let's just see if the public money is on the Titans. That was earlier in the week, and it's still here. 73% of the cash, 72% of the tickets. I'm going to back the Texans unless I'm talked off of it right now. Let's go to John Ryan. What do you think of my feeling here on the Texans?
I like it. Tennessee is really struggling on defense, and in my opinion, a lot more than what people think. They're 27th in the NFL, allowing 6.25 yards per play. They're allowing 409 yards a game to opponents, which ranks 29th in the league. They're dead last, allowing an incredible 60% third down conversions. I mean, think about that, 60%. It's not just one game. We're talking about they've played 4 games. So that's a problem that you just can't fix in a week. And I think you're right, Jimmy. I think that Houston has enough offense. They actually rank 4th in the league with 6.4 yards per play. They're average across the board after that, but that also reflects their inefficiency in the red zone, where they rank 24th with a 53% touchdown conversion rate. And against this type of defense, that's where a team like Houston can improve on their average performance. So you would expect that Houston would increase, they would perform at a much higher level than their average has otherwise indicated in this matchup. And I do believe you're right with Tennessee's defense being very vulnerable to the offensive attack. So I think you're on the right side.
I do too. I could have got the +4 last night at midnight, and it was just a late. I mean, I was capping baseball, and I should have just pulled the trigger, and I was lazy. Ben Martin giving a 29-26 final score for the Titans. Ragoo, do you agree with this look on the Texans? We got Dommy Gun on the Texans. What do you think?
I agree with it. I didn't pull the trigger either, so I'm in the stands on this one. But definitely, it's I think it's the right side to hit on what John was saying about the 60% third down. But even worse, when they get in the red zone, they're giving like a high 80s number on touchdowns. So this is a good opportunity for the Texans to kind of fix their offensive woes. With Cromell just trying to kind of rectify, right the ship, so to speak, on both sides. And they were looking for an identity on offense. And I think they might find it here in this game. So I would definitely say, you might have a good opportunity to sneak away with a W, not just with the plus the points, but maybe an outright win in this particular spot here. Short rest, things pointing in the right direction for Houston to right the ship, and Tennessee with their defensive struggles. This might be an outright W for for Houston. Excuse me.
Exciting. Very, very exciting. What a difference a few days make. A short week for these Titans. And so just a review of what's going on with the Titans in COVID. They got Daquan Jones and Bo Brinkley, their defensive lineman and long snapper, back from the reserve COVID list. They've activated 4 more players since then, and the main guy being defensive lineman Jeffrey Simmons. So they are getting healthier. Joe Yurkovich, Derrick Henry over 103.5 rush yards in his pocket. Makes sense, Joe. And Gerald Jones saying Tannehill 16-4 in the last 20 games. Look, he's playing well. Those are the 1:00 games. Let's move on to the 4:05 games. Princess C says, who do the Texans have on offense? And look, I get what you're saying, and it's easy to put up big numbers against Jacksonville, and that's what, Brandon Cooks and David Johnson did. But I think Deshaun Watson will get better as the season goes on, and I think the Titans are vulnerable.
Yeah, we haven't been talking about Deshaun Watson's playmaking ability lately, so maybe today's a game that he shines big also. So we'll see.
We'll see. It's going to be a fun one. All right. Oh, and Dom didn't take the Texans. Sorry, my bad. He says just the under. Just the under. Okay. And Dylan Turner says win or lose, Henry gets his today. All right, let's go to Jets. Dolphins, 81 Fahrenheit, scattered thunderstorms. 12 miles per hour is the wind in Miami. The Dolphins open up at -9. They're now at 8.5. That's been moving constantly. When I say that, let me just give you an idea of it. It got to 10. So it was at 10 for a while. It opened at 8, went to 9.5, got to 10, and was at 10 for 3 days, 3 days. And then it was this morning. This morning, a big move from 10 to 8.5 3 hours ago. So that's where it sits now at 8.5. Some gamblers obviously saying the Dolphins aren't good enough to be 10-point favorites. DT says Dolphins by 14. All right. Jets defense couldn't keep the Cardinals off the field. That 30-10 loss. Arizona had these long touchdown drives. The Jets are a mess. I like that they cut Le'Veon Bell, but I don't like anything that Gase does. Brashard Perryman, Mekhi Becton, bless Austin. Then they lose Chris Hogan to an ankle injury. They're just beat up. DT says could be a trap game for the Dolphins. They're not as good as they looked in that 43-17 win over the Niners. But this is a team that's playing hard for Flores, playing hard for Fitzpatrick, and it's a young team moving in the right direction. That being said, I only used the Dolphins in my survivor pool. I didn't have anything to do with betting them here. The total went from 47 to 46.5. Let's start with Big Ragoo. Ragoo, is there a move to be made here, Jets Dolphins?
No, not with that number. It's too big in my book. But all the intangibles are in the Dolphins' favor for sure. Flores, they've all bought in. Even going back to last year, this is a team that it's a young team. It's a fun team to watch play football. It really is. Like the game is supposed to be played. They go out, they play hard every game. You get their best effort. They're playing for Fitzmagic. There's a lot to like about the Dolphins, but not with that number. And the Jets, they're a hot mess, like you said. They've got. I mean, if you talk about a team, the epitome of a team that's on the downfall is the Jets. So I mean, you got two teams going opposite directions, but I don't think the number is in the right spot. So, and I'm not going to back the Jets here, even though I don't like the number. So it's a Dolphins or pass for me. Maybe a tease play, possibly take the Dolphins in a teaser with something that you really, really like, maybe with the Texans or something like that.
John, what do you think here, Jets Dolphins?
I'm with Big Ragoo on this game. It might be entertaining just to watch it, but it blows my mind that a team like the Dolphins, who ranks 18th in the league offensively and 24th defensively, is even remotely favored by 10, even at home. And again, it just reflects the dysfunction of the whole entire Jets team and the culture. That's just a really bad situation. And letting Le'Veon Bell go was the right thing to do. But now it's kind of scary that he's in Kansas City with a contract that pays him up to $1.7 million. So this running back was the stud of the NFL when he was a Steeler. And to Tomlin's credit, we learned everything that he had to manage between Antonio Brown and him while they were Steelers. So I don't know how that's going to pan out in Kansas City, but clearly that's an asset maybe that you pay very little, and if it doesn't work out, you cut them. But back to this game, I really don't have much at all to say about it. I can't remember the last time I saw a team out of the gate 0-5, both against the spread and straight up, like the Jets are. So I just actually wanted to know what the database would tell me on teams that are in that situation. And it's really not all that great, but it does show that these teams that are 0-5, they've lost 5 or more games. They've lost 5 or more games consecutive to the spread, or 77-60 with 6 pushes. And that comes out to 56.2%. So, for something like that, 56 makes you money. But are you going to go out and bet the Jets? I have plenty of other things to do, like mow the yard, than go put a bet on the Jets.
I hear you. Okay, let's move on to the marquee game of the card. Our very own Beach Boss will be live to watch. Packers, Buccaneers, 84 Fahrenheit, isolated thunderstorms, 15-mile-per-hour winds. Packers fresh off of their bye week. Bebsy moved on the Packers at -2. The leading indicator books have moved it to 1.5. There were ones on the board. The total opened up at 51.5 and is now at 54.5. This is the big one. This is the exciting one. Packers fresh off the bye, open the season by scoring at least 30 points in 4 straight games. You have Rodgers without Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard. I want to find out if Devontae Adams is going to be back here because we know that Lazard is not going to be. See if I can get that information here. We have him. He was practicing, and he's not on the report. But Rodgers made Robert Tonyan look like an absolute superstar. 27 to 33, 327 yards, throwing 13 touchdown passes without an interception. Zadarius Smith is getting to the quarterback. 3 sacks last week. They are just a tough club. Going up against a Buccaneers team that you would be surprised. I mean, if we guessed what this line would be with a healthy Brady before the season started, this is a surprise. And that 2019 loss at Chicago and the mistake Brady made at the end of the game is giving value to Tampa Bay. I'm afraid to bet them, but I can understand why there's a bunch of sharps back in the Buccaneers in this spot with the way Ronald Jones is running. And the Buccaneers getting value as a home dog. I can completely but I'm afraid to get in the way of the Packers. Big Ragoo, take it away. The marquee game on the card, Packers-Buccaneers.
So you got a renaissance year with Aaron Rodgers having an MVP season, correct, with the numbers he's putting up. And he's going to come into Tampa, roll into Tampa with a little bit of extra rest. And Brady coming off that little bit of a fiasco that he had up at the Bears. But there's a lot of moving pieces in this game, and you can make arguments on both sides. But the biggest argument for me would be, Brady going up against the that weak secondary that Green Bay has, and that tough run defense that Tampa has in the middle to kind of bottle up Jones, with some pieces missing for Rodgers. So I think the value is on Tampa. I think it's going to be a pretty decent scoring game. I think you'll probably see the 50s. It's probably going to be close to that number on the total side, but to me, the more value is sitting on Tampa side. Plus, we get Fournette back. They get Fournette back to help Jones out. Jones has got doing some nice things. The nice developing running game for Tampa, and I think it's going to cause some issues for Green Bay here. I think Aaron's going to get his points, no doubt, but I don't think they're going to come at as easily as people think. That Tampa defense is going to be a little stingy, I think, and bottle up Jones, and it's going to force Aaron to throw the ball downfield more than he wants to, and that could put him in some sticky situations. So I like Tampa at home getting the point, or whatever that's worth. But Tampa comes away with the win at home.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards making that move. Let's see what you get on the money line right now for Tampa, between plus 110 and plus 125. John Ryan, what do you think of this spot side total, Packers Buccaneers?
Well, I like what Big Ragoo said. I agree with all of it, and I like Tampa Bay. I think the wrong team's favored, and Green Bay is in a situation clearly where, especially Rodgers' performances, revert back to the mean. It's like a stock that you watch in the stock market, and it keeps going up and up and up, and then all of a sudden it becomes too overvalued, and it has a correction. So it's not saying that Rodgers is a bad quarterback. It's just saying that there's a likelihood, an increased probability that there's going to be performances that are below average. As much as the attention in Tampa goes to Tom Brady and his incredible career, the big story in Tampa, in my eyes, is the defense. And on my rankings, they are number one across the board in many of them that have a lot of the meaningful, above and beyond scoring defense. So with this situation, we have Tampa Bay ranking second in just allowing 298 yards per game. That's good for number 2, just in a flash stat. Their yards per play, they're number 3, 4.9. Third down conversions, 38%, which is much lower than that 60% we talked about in that other game. I guess that was like the toilet bowl or whatever they call it. But anyway, the red zone scoring, they're ranked 8th, allowing a score on 54% of the opposition's plays. Now, if you look at the Green Bay defense, where I've seen, and I actually look at some game film once in a while too, where Green Bay, in my opinion, is very vulnerable, is over the top. And this is the first game that Brady has his studs. Godwin's back. Mike Evans is playing. And I believe this is the first time they've actually been on the field together. So, of course, you can say it's going to take a while for the chemistry to develop. And I think that's nonsense. I think you're going to see Brady do what he does best, which is play action pass off the run. And he's going to look, for those post routes down the middle of the field. And that's where Green Bay is really stunk. And that's where we know Brady still has the arm to execute that throw. So, again, I respect the line when it's the line, because that's the price we all pay. But I do strongly believe the wrong team is favored here. And I do have a bet on Tampa Bay.
Did you take the money line, or did you want a point or a point and a half or two?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I did a little research yesterday with how high the scoring has been in the NFL recently. So, make a long story short, what it's told me now is if you have a line of plus 2.5 or less towards pick'em, and it has to be a dog, it's much better to play the money line. Because of the increase in scoring in the NFL has caused that to happen. So anything plus 2.5 to plus 1, I'm going to always play the money line from here on out.
Do you think, Max says, how does this game not go over? Do you think it's possible that the Buccaneers can get enough of a pass rush with 4 guys all game long and have 7 guys in the secondary all game long, and it actually be difficult for the Packers to put up 25 plus points? What do you think?
I don't, and I think the over is the right play here too. So if I was going to do a parlay, clearly that would be it. The Bucs and the over would be the play. I personally don't recommend teasers. It's called teaser for a reason, and casinos stay in business with these parlay bets. But I would say for me, every once in a while, every blue moon, I'll have my second IPA and lose my discipline, and I'll go to the window and put in a bet like that. So in this case, you can write me down for Tampa Bay and the over.
Tampa Bay and the over. All right, we want to have this show done in 15 minutes so that we can so we want best bets in by that. We want everybody to have time to get to the window. John Ryan on Bucs and over, and I'm close to pulling the trigger on the Buccaneers myself. And anything official for you on this game, Ragoo?
Oh, yeah, Tampa Bay money line.
And Bucs money line. Wow, all of us here on the Bucs. Okay, well then I'm going to go ahead and move on the Bucs as well. This will be my first official edition, but there's a couple that I'm about to make. Bucs money line, I'm in as well. All right, and Joe Yurkovich is on the Bucs team total over 27, which makes sense. All righty, let's keep rolling, and let's speed this up a little bit. How many do we have left? We have the Sunday. Oh, no, we're okay for time, but let's keep this tight. Next up, we have Rams, Niners, and this is another very interesting spot that feels like it's sharps against public. We have 58% of the money on the Niners, 72% of the tickets on the Rams. Rams coming off that dominant 30-10 win at Washington. Rams have been scoring at will on the road. And the Niners are a broken team. Now, they're getting some important defensive pieces back, and we'll go over them. But let's talk about the Rams right now. Goff looked very strong against Washington. 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for 1. Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers, Aaron Donald had 4 sacks. they looked very strong, and the Niners were completely embarrassed and annihilated and are now dogs at home. Jimmy G be back behind center. He looked awful. The pass game averaged 3.2 yards per dropback. And Mosley is the most important piece here that is returning for the Niners. They looked lost without Sherman, and he had a setback in his return. Kwan Williams out, but Emmanuel Mosley going to be back in action. And got to get Brian Allen off the field. He was brought up from the practice roster, and he was completely abused by Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins. John Ryan, Rams, Niners, take it away.
Well, I agree with the smart money, the wise guys being on the San Francisco 49ers. I don't ever refer to myself as a wise guy. I mean, just look at me. I don't even fit the mode. But anyway, the Rams are probably the most overvalued 4-1 team I've ever seen. And I don't know if this has ever happened. I know I did a query on my database and I came up empty. But the Rams have played the NFC East. They've played Dallas, Philly, the Giants, and Washington. So, Goff's putting up gaudy, really impressive numbers. And the Rams offense as a whole looks like it's a juggernaut that should be an NFL Super Bowl contender. But I need to see more. And this is really not a formidable opponent. They really won't play anybody until Chicago. I guess you could say that will be competitive, but that's at home. Then they have Seattle at home on November 15th. So they've really had the easiest schedule of any NFL team by a lot. So when you factor in all these impressive stats for strength of schedule, they become mediocre in a hurry. And, it's just something in my gut, too, on this play. And my machine learning tools are officially on the 49ers, so that's a documented play. That the 49ers are the team that should be favored. And the line swing here is one of the biggest ever in the last 10 years. Not ever, but in the last 10 years, there hasn't been a 6.5-point swing that I know of. And I think we have two of them this week. But this is one of them. So you go from the public basically saying that, oh my God, look at the Rams. They scored that many points and they won on the road on the East Coast, and they get all, and it's herd mentality. It's human behavior that, Jimmy, you've heard me say a lot about it. It applies to the marketplace with stocks, and it's the same exact thing with sports betting. And when you get too many people thinking the same thing, there's a high tendency for the opposite to happen. In bull markets, you get to the top, everybody and their brother's bullish. Oh my God, this is great. And then that's when you have the corrections and the crashes. Same thing at the bottoms. You tell somebody you bought a stock, they look at you like, there's something radically wrong with you. And that's when the bottoms occur. And the same thing with this game is that you have everyone and their brother thinking that the Rams will win this game by, a gazillion points. And my math and a lot of the other stuff point to the 49ers.
Very, very interesting breakdown. Ron Lofton on first half and full game over. Wow, Rams, Niners. John Ryan on the Niners. Let's see what Ragoo has to say about this spot. Take it away, Sunday Nighter.
For me, the Rams are not to play. The 49ers are to play, but I'm not on the game because I missed the best of it. So I'm going to sit back and not get involved here in this spot. But definitely, this is the biggest game of the year for the 49ers if they want to try to salvage their season somewhat, to try to get back in the thick of things. And they're getting healthy. They're getting Garoppolo. I mean, all the pieces are coming back for them to put a performance they need to be. And John hit the nail on the head. All the W's that the Rams have been against the NFL least, NFC least opponents. A lot of travel involved back and forth with those games also. But this is a game where I think that the 49ers should be able to put a good showing on the field and kind of, not say expose the Rams, but just kind of, division game back at home, in Levi, to kind of get things going in their fashion. I think I wouldn't get involved on the tail end of the number, but if you're sitting on the 49ers right now, you got the best of the number, and I think you're on the right side with the 49ers here.
I like that, Big Ragoo. Just add this real quick, Jimmy. The Rams have traveled to the East Coast 3 times, and that sooner or later it's going to manifest itself on the field when they go back home. And this is, a West Coast game, obviously. And I keep track of probabilities of teams making to playoffs. So then you can measure how important a game is to a particular team. So in the case of the 49ers, they currently have a 30% probability of making the playoffs from this point before this game starts. If they lose, it goes down to 10. So I don't know if they look at this kind of stuff, but obviously common sense tells you that it's a major game for them.
Yeah, it's the biggest game of the year.
The Rams have a 90% chance of being in the playoffs, and if they lose this game, it only drops down to 80. So the urgency should be on the 49ers.
It has to be. I'm going to stay off this game and watch it and enjoy it. Do you guys quickly, in less than 30 seconds each, if you can, because we got to get to best bets, and we have 2 Monday nighters to talk about. Do you agree with this market move towards the over? Open at 49, now 51. Go with Ragoo. Do you agree with this move to the over?
Yeah, I do. I agree with it.
I would too. It makes sense that it would be higher scoring.
These coaches love matching up wits and can be very creative offensively. It would, and with the Niners' defensive issues, I guess what kept me off of it on Tuesday night was just watching Jimmy G look so bad. But I can understand it. All right, let's move on to the Monday nighter. We start with Chiefs, Bills, and man, both teams coming off losses and both somewhat embarrassing. Chiefs opened up at -3.5. They're now -5. This total opened up at 57.5. There's now 57s and 56.5s. If you look at where the cash is going, it is all over the Chiefs. And the market is showing that 85% cash, 81% tickets. Same with the over. So Chiefs and the over is what is being bet right now. The Chiefs did not look good. I mean, that's a nice way of saying it. Did not look good defensively against the Raiders. Mahomes couldn't get away from the pass rush. The Chiefs' offensive line was completely manhandled. Sammy Watkins is out with the hamstring injury. Osemele tore tendons in both his knees. So you have Osemele, Watkins, and then Hitchens hurt himself in the fourth, his hand. I'll look up to see if he's back in business, but this Chiefs team looked bad, and the Bills team looked even worse against the Tennessee Titans, against a fresh Titans team that had been dealing with COVID. There was a lot of people thinking that a lot of the public thinking that the Bills were going to go in and take care of business. The Sharps were on the Titans, and the Sharps were absolutely right. Now I wonder, are there any Sharps sitting there saying, I want the Bills +5 at home on the Monday nighter? Also, it's 49 Fahrenheit in showers. It's not windy, 7 miles per hour, but Monday we have showers in Buffalo. John Ryan, take it away. Monday nighter, Chiefs, Bills.
Well, I like the Bills in this game. I think with the clunker that happened last week, you can draw a line through that game. They're going to happen. But Buffalo, I think, is hitting Kansas City at the right time. In the majority of Andy Reid's seasons, there is that time period where, for whatever reason, they could be tweaking the offensive scheme a little bit for down the road. But they tend to not play well after a big start like this. He did it with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think with John Brown coming back is huge. for the Buffalo Bills. He didn't play last week, obviously, and you can say that that was the excuse why things didn't go so well. But they rely on him a ton, and getting him back for this game is very significant. You mentioned the injuries that Kansas City has. I think their back end of their defense is vulnerable to that long pass, much like I mentioned with the Green Bay Packers. And I think Buffalo comes away with the win here, straight up.
Wow, a straight up win. Are you going to take the points or the money line?
Well, you guys talk a little bit, and I'll decide that while you're talking.
Wow, very exciting breakdown from John Ryan. Let's go to Big Ragoo. Chiefs, Bills, Monday night.
Yeah, my action's already down on the Chiefs. I got -115, -3. So you know which way I'm going already. But for the most part, are both of these teams coming off an anomaly, defensively speaking, with Buffalo, coming up tough, on the wrong side against Tennessee with that shellac. And the same thing for Kansas City. Did the Raiders expose something that they're going to take to film and then, try to come back at that, this week? But short rest, with Buffalo is probably a big reason that I jumped on it really, really early. And Kansas City, the way they played in that game. Now, I wasn't up on the injury report when I played it, so I just kind of went in on the blind, but I figured that Mahomes had a very subpar, not even a vanilla game in that game. He was just, not himself totally. And, you got to give Buffalo credit for their defense. They are a defensive-minded squad, but I think Kansas City is going to have too much to come at them with. I know past defense-wise, Buffalo had some issues, and I think those issues are going to be their Achilles heels in this game. So, with Mahomes' ability to get out of the pocket and create a lot of opportunities downfield, even though, Watkins is going to be coming up missing, they just have still too many weapons to deal with. And I think it's a short number, and it's a short number for a reason. I don't think they're going to blow them out, by, double digits, high double digits, but I think they're at least going to be, at least a touchdown better in this spot. So I know I disagree with John here, but I'm not happy about that. But at the same time, I think
right.
Mahomes is going to be the better player in this spot. So give me Mahomes laying the points.
Nice job getting the 3. We got to get to this Monday nighter, Cardinals, Cowboys. Quickly, John, what did you – well, you don't need to make a quick decision here either. But do you have a lean a certain way, whether you're going to go for the big score or take the points?
Well, I'd like to break it in half. So 50% of my when I do combination bets, that's what I call them. It's 50% money line, 50% line in this case. Sometimes those percentages will change, but for this purpose, half and half.
And you're going to have a Le'Veon Bell who probably wants to prove something. Good point, Tyler Pruitt. All right, Cardinals, Cowboys. That's up next. And Intex, big Chiefs fan. Great guy, great capper. Says manhandled mostly up the middle. Nowhere for Mahomes to step up in the pocket, running for his life. Mr. Nodal says take Bills first half and Chiefs full game. Interesting look. All right, let's do this quickly. Cardinals, Cowboys, and then let's get the best bets. Cardinals got back on track with that easy 30-10 win at the Jets. They're beaten up, but it looks like they've got a lot of guys coming back. They got Buda Baker back, and the loss of Chandler Jones is enormous. But Chris Banjo, I believe he is going to be back in action. And then it's just Kennard, questionable. Dennis Gardeck, another linebacker, questionable. And then offensive tackle DJ Humphries, questionable. Kylie Fritz, linebacker, ruled out. So that's for the Cardinals. And then I thought that the public would see the Prescott injury. And, for 3 years, I've talked about not being very high on Prescott, thinking he was a game manager. He looked very, very good so far this year. But I thought that the public would see Prescott going down, the Red Rocket coming in, and think the Cardinals are going to smash. And I was, could I get a possible nice price on the Cowboys? And all the money or the market has moved quickly towards the Cowboys, and Arizona are only 1-point favorites. And now you look at that and you're like, geez, should I then make a move on the Cardinals? You have 65% of the cash, 58% of the tickets on the Cowboys, and I'm shocked. And it's not that I think that Dalton is a step down from Prescott. I don't. I just think The Cowboys are a bad football team, and their defense is awful. So I'm shocked that all this money is coming in on the Cowboys. I'm sorry I took so long opening that up. Let's be very quick here. Let's go with Big Ragoo, Cardinals, Cowboys. You have a lean? You have a feel on this?
I would probably look towards more one of the team totals in this spot here. Maybe for points, an over, possibly for the Arizona Cardinals with their weapons. I don't know what that number is. Not to put any pressure back on you to look it up for me, but I'm not comfortable. I would, if Jones was in for Arizona, I'd say definitely Arizona. But he's the leading pass rusher, and I think they're going to need that to kind of put pressure on the Rocket to kind of shore things up for them. I like their ability in the red zone to stop opponents, but I don't know how many red zone opportunities Dallas is going to have down there. But we'll see. I mean, for me, it's a pass. But maybe maybe Arizona team total over, possibly whatever that number is.
Dennis Garcia says, "Why do we think Arizona is any good?" It's not that I think Arizona is that good. I think the Cowboys are bad, not offensively, but they're a bad football team as a whole. John Ryan, let's keep it tight because we got to get the best bets. Cardinals, Cowboys, the late Monday nighter.
Well, quickly, Andy Dalton is as you used his nickname appropriately, very experienced backup quarterback, probably the best backup quarterback in the NFL, and the Cowboys were smart getting him. I would highly recommend just watching this game because you don't know what you're going to get with Dallas. They were already a not so good team with a powerful offense with really, really great stats. But now, unfortunately, Prescott is out for the year, and the transition is not going to happen overnight with Dalton. So I would rather wake up Tuesday morning and say, boy, I wish I would have bet Dallas. Man, that Dalton is really filling in great. Then bet him and see the Cowboys score 10 points. So I think it's a game you watch.
Good advice.
Well, we do have a little over 24 hours before decisions have to be made here, but I'm surprised by the line. All right, there you have every game broken down. We're going to do a quick review, but let's first do best bets here. Best bets, and have the balls to do this. I don't think I've done this at least in the last 3 years where everything's been public. Detroit Lions -3 is my best bet on the board. Big Ragoo, best bet.
Tampa Bay money line.
Woo! Buccaneers money line. John Ryan, best bet.
Tampa Bay money line. So I'm shaking my head.
Oh, that's exciting.
Should I pick something else?
We didn't talk to each other.
I like it. We never have a problem when two cappers align on the same best bet. Not at all, because it just makes it more appealing. Not at all. All right.
I don't jinx them.
Quickly over this entire card. So the additions. So correct me if I'm wrong. Just interrupt if I'm wrong. So Bengals. Oh, shit. Sorry, here. It's the wrong one. Let me pull this up here. Here we go. Pull it up. Okay, so Bengals. Okay, here we go. All the info here. Okay. So Bebsy made 4 moves on the card. He backed 15 minutes till kickoff. Steelers first half -2.5. Steelers full game -3.5. Panthers -2.5. Packers -2. I moved on Panthers -2.5. Detroit, Jacksonville under 54.5. On Wednesday, Lions -3. Falcons +4. Colts -7.5. Broncos +10. The under in Colts Bengals is screaming at me. But I'm still hesitant. Is that a move that you made, Ragoo? So I don't have you written down for that. The under 46 in Bengals Colts?
No. I'm on the under. I'll give you my plays real quick. I'm going to take under in the Carolina-Chicago game. And I'm going to take – I only got 3 plays realistically. I have Pittsburgh -3.5. And I might lean towards you guys are talking me into that Houston play, so I might look at a Houston Texans plus the points there. And that's it. Those are my official plays for today.
All righty. Why don't do you have your listed action in front of you, John?
I do.
Okay. Could you please review your action?
In addition to Tampa Bay, Chicago Bears, and can't read my writing, believe it or not. Denver Broncos.
Okay, I'm going to add the Vikings first half team total over 10.5. And let me just get one last update on Darius Leonard. Do we have – if I got Darius Leonard, I'll take the under. If I don't, I'm going to leave it off of my card. Where the hell? Here we go. Doubtful for Sunday's game. All right, I'm leaving it off. I'm not going to move on the under 46. That's off. Okay. So my only additions here, I'm going to take the Falcons first half team total over. Ragoo, that was something that you were interested in. Are you still in that interest?
I'm still interested in that one. Yep, I'm still interested in the over and the team total Atlanta, and then also the under the team total Eagles possibly.
The Eagles team total. Okay, and Maceo saying he's out. Okay, good. That's cut from my action. And then I'm adding the Texans plus 3.5, and I'm going to add the Buccaneers money line to go heads up. The other, and I'm also adding the under 45 in Bears Panthers. Ragoo, that was another look that you were interested in. Still
correct. That is one of my plays. Correct.
Oh, that is one of your plays. Okay,
yep.
So those are going to be my additions. All right, we got to put a bow on this and get to the window. What a treat it was to have you guys rolling with us. What a spectacular job. John Ryan making his first appearance here on our NFL show. It was great. And we had our Big Ragoo back in action for his second appearance. Great stuff. Nasty Nate says, so no early best bets? Well, my best bet is – okay, why don't we close the show with their 1 o'clock best bets? My best bet is a 1 o'clock game. It's the Lions -3. Let's hear your do you guys have a 1 p.m. best bet, Ragoo?
I'm on Pittsburgh. Is that an early game? The Steelers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Steelers.
So Steelers it is.
Okay, and John Ryan, best bet on the 1 p.m. game?
Denver.
I love my Broncos at +10. I love that a lot, but and John even liking it at this price. All right, Let's get paid in full. Let's have a giant Sunday today. I need it after yesterday's shellacking in NCAA football. Big thank you to John Ryan and Big Ragoo, but also huge thank you to all these great cappers in the chat. We have nothing without your interest and excitement and your humor and your insights. Mark Unkefer, Viper MB, Al Mack, Mr. Fun Monk, Nasty Nate, Alex Ramirez, Sammy B, Maceo, Oaktown, Ben Martin, Not Applicable, Tyler Pruitt, Pick and Pop, Alex Ramirez, Canabro, Nikolai Jubinski, Keith Kaplan, Dennis Garcia. What a great group. Robert Cherry, Birdie, Jin Rummy, Ron Lofton, Clint Richardson. Have a great Sunday. Let's watch some football. We're 10 minutes away from action. I'm pumped up. Thank you, John. Thank you, Big Ragoo. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, Monday, for our NCAA football show, and that is at 2 p.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday night, we have our NFL opening line show. Catch you guys then. Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button, and also follow us on Twitter @odds110. Get paid in full today.